Hey guys, Tom Mobile back again, and today I'm going to be reviewing the OnePlus 9. Let's jump right into it. My number one favorite feature on this phone is the 65 watt fast charging, and the charging brick is also included in the box. The phone itself has a 4500 milliamp battery. It is actually two batteries inside of the phone. It is divided in half, roughly about 2250 milliamp on each side. Basically, they are charging both battery at the same time, and this allows them to accomplish the 65 watt fast charging. It also supports the 15 watt fast wireless charging. If you want the 50 watt fast wireless charging, then you would need to get the Pro model and spend an additional $70 for the charging dock. I don't really see the point in spending that much if you already have the 65 watt fast charging. Maybe if they gave it for free, or if it came as a promotion for a pre-order, then I would use it at that point, but I personally wouldn't want to pay that much. The battery life lasts about 11 hours, which is more than enough, but it depends on your personal usage. And if you are ever in a rush, just a quick charge of 15 to 30 minutes, and you will have enough battery to last you the whole day. The OnePlus 9 also have reverse wireless charging. If you have earbuds that support wireless charging, you can use that if you're ever in an emergency. Or you can charge another phone if you want, even though that may not always be practical. The OnePlus 9 have a Snapdragon 888, which is the best that Android have to offer in 2021. It also have a big 6.55 inch Full HD display, which is more than enough. Some phones out there offer 4K, but I don't think you really need it on a smartphone. It is kind of an overkill. Most people cannot really tell the difference beyond 1080p with the naked eye. It is equipped with a 120Hz refresh rate. It does lack the LTPO technology for the refresh rate. This allows them to lower the refresh rate when you are not doing any intensive activities such as scrolling through a web page, but I don't think it is that big of a deal. It can help save a little bit of battery, but I think with the 65 watt fast charger and the huge 4500 milliamp battery, I don't find myself worrying about battery life that often. The base model have 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. If you want to pay a little bit more, you can get the 12 gigs of RAM with the 256GB of storage. The OnePlus 9 have a 48 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera. They did partner with Hasselblad on this phone, but mostly on the software side and the color configuration. Hardware side, they still use the Sony sensors on this phone. And if you haven't had a chance yet, you can feel free to check out my full video on the camera. But in this video, I'm just going to go over the quick overview of how I feel about the camera overall. It has a bunch of features such as the tilt shift mode, which allows you to center a certain object on the scene and then blur out the rest of the background. It's a nice little trick, but I'm not sure how useful it is. Certainly there if you want to use it. It has a 16 megapixel front facing camera and a great ultra wide camera as well. You can shoot time lapse. There's low light video options, nightscape video, and also photos available as well. Overall, it's a pretty decent camera. Not quite on par with Samsung, Apple, and Google, but it's pretty good. The OnePlus 9 have a beautiful classy design with a glass back. It is actually a bit prone to fingerprint, as you can see in the back. The phone itself does have plastic rim on the side, but it feels comfortable to hold and it doesn't bother me. A lot of the premium phones tend to have aluminum edges, but if you're going to put a case on it, it doesn't really matter. The phone itself is a great price at $729 for the base model, and I think this is the ideal range for a flagship phone. Once you start reaching the $1,000 range, it is too pricey for most people. Although there's always a market for the die-hard fans who want to get the latest and greatest best specs that any manufacturer have to offer, but for the most part, the general consumer tend to prefer phones in this price range or lower, and this phone pretty much hit all the check boxes in terms of all the features, designs, and price point. The T-Mobile version is water resistant and does have an IP68 rating. Although the rest of the unlocked version do not have any official rating, they are likely made exactly the same way and have the same material. It's just that if you buy it from anywhere else, they don't have the actual rating because it costs money to even carry the IP rating. So it's just some cost-cutting measure there, but technically the phone does have IP68 water resistant. Another nice touch is OnePlus actually gave blue bubbles to Android users in the messaging and green bubbles for iPhone users. It's a little ironic, but a funny little touch. One of the first things you should do when you get this phone is change the action for what happens when you swipe down from the home screen. By default, it has the OnePlus Google Home-like app where you can see your step counter, toolbox, and recent apps and everything like that, but I don't think these information are as useful as a dashboard function. It shows the data you use and your cell phone battery. I would recommend changing it to the notification menu at the top. Logically, it would make more sense. I remember in the OnePlus 8, it had this by default instead of defaulting to their dashboard app, and it is actually pretty challenging to find and not as straightforward as you would think. In a lot of the phones, you would go to the setting, look for the notification, swipe down or something like that in order to change this action, but that is not the case. You will need to access this from the home screen by going to the home screen settings, and in there you will see the swipe down access. You can change it to notification and quick settings. Now you can see one swipe down and you can access your notification, which is way more convenient. If you enjoy seeing videos like these, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Now on to some of the things that this phone is lacking. It is missing an optical image stabilization. So if you have shaky hands, you may have trouble finding the best videos and photos. It also lacks a telephoto camera, but if you want that, you can get the Pro version instead. On the base version, it has the 2 megapixel monochrome camera instead, which is almost useless. It would have been nice to have the telephoto camera instead. It is also missing expandable storage, but all the other high-end phone at this point don't really offer that either. It would have been nice to see OnePlus still offer it though. Plastic rims on the side, like I mentioned earlier, it's not a deal breaker, but it does make it feel a little bit less premium. Also, the battery life could be a little bit better as well, but on the other hand, you have the 65-watt charger, so you can get up to speed in a few minutes. The camera itself is pretty good, but it's missing some features that I like from other flagship phones, such as the wide-angle front selfie camera. It is also missing a headphone jack for the die-hard audiophile, but me personally, I have converted to wireless earbuds at this point, and I'm pretty happy with them. Occasionally, there were a couple times where I had some overheating issues and the notification came up, but this is when I was using the GPS and the dashcam app running at the same time, which can be quite intensive, but I don't think this is an issue that most people would have. And if you have any concerns about that, you can always upgrade to 12 gigs of RAM to not worry about the processing and the phone being overworked. I have had some funky network issues on this phone, such as Google Map not really working properly, whether it is me leaving my house transitioning from Wi-Fi to 5G. Sometime when I enter an address into Google Maps, it doesn't really navigate me anywhere, so I have to restart the app or sometimes even have to restart the phone. Not too big of a deal, but it does happen often enough that I want to mention it. At the end of the day, I think this is an awesome phone. I don't see why you want to spend the extra $300 on the Pro model when this version pretty much hit all the checkboxes for basic consumers. I understand if you want to get all the greatest and latest specs, but for most people this phone is more than enough. I will recommend the OnePlus 9 over the S21 in a heartbeat. It is $70 cheaper than the smallest Galaxy S21. It has a bigger screen, pretty much the same processor, and best of all, it has a 65-watt charging with the brick included in the box. But if you want the better camera, I would go for the S21 instead. So it all depends on what you need. Do you want an awesome camera, or do you want a more practical, super fast charging that you can pretty much use every day? Let me know what your thoughts are on the OnePlus 9. Thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.